right, welcome back to Local News Live. I'm Victoria Shirley. Right now, a volcano is erupting for the first time in 3 decades in Hawaii, and we do have a great TV station in Hawaii covering every aspect of that story. And we wanted to take this opportunity to do a roundup of the excellent reporting their journalists are doing and covering this major eruption. But before we get to their stories, let's go ahead and give you a little bit of background about this volcano. So let's jump into some of the details about this volcano. So what do we know about it and where is it? This volcano is one of 5 that make up the Big Island of Hawaii, which is the southernmost island in the Hawaiian Islands. It's not the tallest. That title goes to Mauna Loa, but it's the largest and makes up half of the island's landmass. Let's talk a little more facts about this volcano. All right, so the Big Island is mostly rural and hosts cattle ranches and coffee farms, but it's also home to a few small cities, including the county seat, which has a population of 45,000, and it's about 200 miles south of Hawaii's most populous island, Oahu, where the state capital, Honolulu, and beach resort Waikiki are both located. Mauna Loa's volume is expected to be at least 18,000 square miles, making it the world's largest volcano when measured from the ocean floor to the summit. So those are some facts, and we'll probably get you more facts here in just a moment. But I also wanted to share some viewer-submitted photos from our station, Hawaii News Now. They are doing an excellent job covering this story. And I want to show you actually where you can find these photos. You can go to hawaiinewsnow.com, and that's where you can see some of these photos and just click through so you can see the lava and the red sky. Wow, take a look at that. Incredible images. We are going to go to our first story that explains that this eruption comes after the longest quiet period in recorded history. Let's take you now to Hawaii News Now and learn a little bit more from the people who know this story the very best, those journalists, those people living in that community.
Scientists say Mauna Loa's eruptions have been legendary, along with heroic efforts to deal with them. Our Daryl Huff explains why this volcano has a reputation for grave danger.
The January 1984 eruption of Mauna Loa happened simultaneously with dramatic fountains at nearby Kilauea. Elisa Yadao was a young reporter for KGMB.
Initially, it was wonderful. You know, it was exciting. The 2 volcanoes were erupting, and I've never seen anything like it in my life.
But within days, it became clear the flow was slowly, steadily heading towards Hilo. The civil defense director faced a terrified community.
I knew that still today is the same. When Mauna Loa erupts, it will create this like the word tsunami because we have a history of death. When Mauna Loa erupts, it will create a different fear from Kilauea.
And in the gym, you could see the panic on people's faces because there's nothing you can do if the lava flow is coming.
That flow stopped 4.5 miles from Hilo, far from the first time the town was spared.
The city of Hilo and its water supply are in danger. So bombs crash into the lava stream.
In 1935, General George Patton sent bombers, which had little effect. The flow stopped on its own. In 1881, as a slow-moving flow again approached the town, Princess Ruth Ke'elikolani left Oahu, answering the call for help.
To sail across and hike up to the flow front and beseech Pele to stop erupting.
Mauna Loa has erupted 34 times since they started counting in 1843, usually with lots of fast-flowing lava that can reach the ocean to the west in hours. Geology professor Scott Rowland says Mauna Loa eruptions are rarer now, but still inspire awe and fear.
If we were talking 100 years ago, then we would say, oh yeah, Mauna Loa's erupting again, no big deal, it last erupted, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, and it would not be such a surprise.
And there would have been a lot fewer people downslope than there are today.
All right, an excellent story, giving us some background about volcanic eruptions in Hawaii. Now let's talk about the threat to the communities there. So Mauna Loa The eruption right now is posing no imminent threat to communities, but authorities are still stressing vigilance. Let's go ahead and turn our attention to the coverage from our station, Hawaii News Now.
40 years, the world's largest active volcano is once again erupting. New aerial video from Mauna Loa shows fountains of lava shooting up to 200 feet high from the summit and fingers stretching 2 miles. The eruption could last up to 2 weeks. There's no imminent threat, though. The USGS just released this preliminary map of the eruptive activity at Mauna Loa. The red you see on your screen shows the location of 3 fissures erupting in the northeast rift zone. USGS says 2 of the fissures have stalled. 1 is still feeding a flow. Based on previous eruptions, officials believe lava will remain inside the rift zone. We have team coverage tonight on Hawaii Island. Our Casey Lund is live tonight in Hilo with new reaction from residents. But we begin with our Eddie Dowd, who's live tonight at Mauna Loa Access Road with the latest developments.
Good evening, Mahea. One thing important to mention, though, is that third fissure that is still active is more than 10,000 feet above ground. And that shows you that it is really not near any communities with populations, and that's one thing officials are trying to stress to the public. Now, we are starting to see a slight red glow here in the area. That's one thing observers who are coming out today were hoping to see, is that signs of that lava, but because it was so cloudy, we did not see it. We did stop at the Red Cross shelter in Kona, where we met with several evacuees from Ocean View who told us they decided to play it safe and leave their homes when hearing that there was a possibility lava could reach their area.
We did keep them open because we did have a few families from the South Kona area at our Kona shelters, and we will probably review what the population is in the shelters this afternoon and make a determination what needs to be open or what needs to be closed down.
There's a lot of memories inside my house, so I'm very worried to lose my house.
Officials say there is no longer a threat at this time to the Ocean View area. And like we reported on throughout the day, we've talked to not only locals, but visitors who have been just kind of alongside the Daniel K. Inouye Highway, hoping to see a glimpse of the lava, of that action. But because of the clouds, we have not been able to see that, but we'll have continuing coverage throughout the day. Be sure to stick with us. Reporting live, Eddie Dowd, Hawaii News Now.
Well, our Casey Lund continues our team coverage with new reaction tonight. Casey.
Aloha and good evening, Mahealani. I'm always so humbled to be here on Hawaii Island and share the important updates that we need to get to our viewers and to these community members, as well as the important work by Hawaiian Volcanoes Observatory, USGS, Hawaii County Civil Defense, the Mayor's Office, all of those officials working to keep everybody safe and informed. As Eddie said, the good news, no communities threatened at this moment. We do know that the lava for now appears to be staying in the northeast rift zone and away from communities and businesses. I spent some time in Hilo and Kona today, talking with people about how they're reacting to this historic news. I spoke with folks that are visiting Hawaii Island, those that call it home, and even one woman who used to live here 40 years ago.
I've been in Seattle for 40 years, but this is home. And so Philly is, home.
I've seen some of the stuff on TV from the cauldron at night, from I guess last night. And I was at a bike shop this morning, and they told me that tonight it'll be a fantastic sunset.
It's just beautiful. I mean, you're awestruck is the word. I don't know, it just gets me in here.
A truly historic event here on Hawaii Island. Of course, the last eruption almost a full 4 decades ago, back in 1984. The eruption before that in 1974. And Mahealani back out here live at Hilo Bay. We know that so many people are breathing a sigh of relief that it appears again, no imminent threat to any of these communities, but something spectacular to behold again as history is made again on Hawaii Island. We'll send things back to you in Honolulu.
Oh, spectacular indeed. Casey, thank you for that live report. Well, here's a live look at the Mauna Loa webcam.
All right, again, excellent coverage from our station, Hawaii News Now. And waves of orange, glowing lava, and ash are blasting and billowing from the world's largest active volcano in its first eruption in 38 years. And again, our station, Hawaii News Now, is continuing to cover every single angle of this story. So again, you heard people talk about how it's epic and it's history making and it's a vision to behold. So people are flocking to this area to see the eruption and watch as the lava flow is lighting up the sky. So let's go ahead and get you to that part of our story, courtesy again of our station, Hawaii News Now.
Their breaking news coverage of the Mauna Loa eruption with Casey Lund.
And there he is, live on Hawaii Island, overlooking that incredible flow. Unreal, Casey.
Hey guys, it really is unreal. And like you said, you know, I have been blessed and I am always humbled to be able to come over here and report on this and share really the important information that many communities are relying on from USGS Hawaii Volcanoes Observatory, Hawaiian Volcanoes Observatory, I should say. And I don't want to dull down this live shot any longer. So I'm going to step out of the way and let you see this amazing sight. And even though, as I said, I was hoping the sun would stay down today, so we could just bask in this beautiful glow all morning long. But even though the sun is up now, take a look at this. You can still see that lava slowly marching its way down the northeast rift zone, the northeast flank of Mauna Loa. The good news, as we've been reporting, it's staying away from those communities on the other side. But take a look at this. You can see it's splintering off in different directions, and you can even make out toward the summit that fissure that was going off earlier. And we have shown you some truly spectacular, there it is, some truly spectacular images this morning. We also know that we've been sharing some of the wild videos, wild images of some of the very fortunate folks, I'm very jealous of them, that have gotten to fly over this and really capture this close up, because as you well know, this is not like the Kilauea Halima'u crater where you're able to go up close and see it. This is a sacred Mauna, and folks are not allowed to go up there, obviously. We want to play out some sound, though, from a family I met. The older generation had been here for previous eruptions, and they're beyond grateful to share this with their children.
I saw the 1984 Mauna Loa, and I followed the Pu'u'o eruptions. It's like the goddess returns.
It's epic. I always wanted to see Mauna Loa. Of course, I didn't want the eruption to harm anybody, but I always hope and dream for something like this.
And I mean, she summed it up so well there. Nobody wants to see anybody lose their homes. Nobody wants to see anybody in danger, like so many of our neighbors on Hawaii Island that were in a really, really difficult situation back in 2018 during that Kilauea eruption. So there's a lot of smiles here. And that's the talk of the town, guys. I've been, as you said, over on the Kona side, Hilo, and as you know, yeah, my second home, Punapau, with my friends. Shout out to Ikaika Marzo and Andrew Dunn. They allow me to stay here so I don't have to go searching for a hotel. So I want to mention them and thank them. But they've also been, as you well know, you spoke with them yesterday, Grace. It's those community members like Ikaika that help keep everybody informed, keep them safe. And that's what USGS is doing as well as Hawaii County Civil Defense. And we're grateful for that and grateful again to enjoy this once-in-a-lifetime event. Guys?
Always good to connect with Hawaii Island. Casey, you know, we're watching this lava come down behind you. Now, you've been there for about a day now. Has it always been seen, or is this relatively new?
No. Well, and you know, I was in such a rush. I had to land in Kona. I had to rush to Hilo to get my bags because I canceled my Hilo flight. I thought I would have better luck on the Kona flight, so I didn't even get to see it. I got my first glimpse of it this morning, and it's so spectacular to me. You know, Eddie Dowd has been reporting on it overnight, and he was here late last night, so he got to see this. But I mean, when I saw it, I almost started crying again. It's very special to me. It's very, very special to me, and it is obviously for Native Hawaiians and the people here that call this place home. I'm just lucky to be here as a visitor.
That's right. Kick Eddie out of there. It's your turn this morning. Guys, okay? All right.
No, he's doing a good job.
We're just joking. We love Eddie too. Eddie's doing a great job. Thanks, buddy. Enjoy.
Thank you, Casey.
Enjoy. Hey, an earth.
Again, we are following along with our station Hawaii News Now as they're covering every single angle of this historic Mauna Loa volcano eruption. It's the first time it's erupted in nearly 40 years. And of course, We're hearing that there's no imminent threat to the public, but officials told people living on Hawaii's Big Island to be ready in case of any worst case scenarios. The eruption Mauna Loa isn't immediately endangering towns at this time, but the U.S. Geological Survey warned the roughly 200,000 people on the Big Island that an eruption, quote, can be very dynamic and the location and advance of lava flows can change rapidly. And now the health department is saying VOG is poised to be a growing threat as the eruption continues. And for that part of the story, again, we go back to our station, Hawaii News Now, for all of the information. Let's go ahead and take you there.
Residents about the potential for poor air quality. Our Jolani Martinez continues our team coverage live for us. Jolani?
Steph, it's a clear night here in Honolulu. VOG isn't filling the skies over Oahu, but forecasters say emissions could travel across the islands depending on wind conditions. And some people say they're starting to smell it.
Even though there's a lot of VOG entering the atmosphere, the forecast doesn't really indicate that we're going to see a lot of it at ground level over the next few days. The winds are from the south, however, aloft, and so the VOG is moving northward.
According to the latest forecasts, Maui County is next in line to get the VOG. It's troublesome for those with asthma and breathing issues.
It's very dangerous to be in that environment, and that's why we would like people to stay away.
Governor-elect Josh Green studied the long-term health effects of the volcanic eruption when he was a physician in Ka'u.
We found that it exactly doubled the effects of lung disease. People got, very congested and had trouble breathing. Asthmatics had a lot more trouble.
Another danger in the air, Pele's hair or volcanic glass, and ash was spotted falling from the sky in Waikiki.
They can break apart and they can impact your skin, they can impact your eyes, you can breathe it through your nose and in your mouth. The particles are actually too large to get in directly deep into the lungs, but they can certainly cause a lot of irritation.
Straub allergist Dr. Jeffrey Kam says those with breathing difficulties should stay indoors with air condition or an air purifier and wear a mask.
The N95s are best. They do not get rid of the chemicals, unfortunately, though, so it does help with the particulate dust and particles, even Pele's hair.
Tonight, dozens of people drove out to Mauna Kea State Recreation Area to check out the lava.
We ask the children to wear their mask and ourselves too, just to be safe.
Because the air smells like rotten eggs. Yeah, I feel safer with the mask because it smells kind of bad, but with the mask, it helps a little.
Common symptoms to look out for when exposed to VOG include headaches, watery eyes, sore throat, flu-like symptoms, and lack of energy. Air quality updates are available through the DOH Clean Air Branch and the Hawaii Interagency VOG Information Dashboard. You can find those links on our website, hawaiinewsnow.com. I'm Jolani Martinez reporting here.
All right, we again appreciate Jolani Martinez for that latest report and explainer of VOG. You heard that little girl say, the air is stinky, it smells like rotten eggs. And we are going to go ahead and turn our attention now to the USGS and the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory Emergency Management, because officials there are giving the latest updates on the Mauna Loa eruption. So let's take you straight to that coverage now.
We're not saying not to go up there. We're just asking if you're going to go to a designated parking area that is safe. As Ken said, right now it's relatively best case scenario as far as preventing any danger to populations or any people. We don't see any need to issue any evacuations or anything like that. We will be closing our shelters in Kona as well as in Hala, as the need for having the shelters out there are no longer in order. That's all I have right now. Thank you, everybody.
Good morning and aloha, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to USGS for organizing these calls. I cannot stress the importance of our partnership and this unified approach to the current eruption at Mauna Loa. So kudos to you folks. I want to give a brief update about what's happening in Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. The park is open. And the viewing has been spectacular. And this morning I came up, I think it was about a little bit before 6 or something. You can see both eruptions from many viewpoints along the Kilauea caldera. We were in front of Volcano House this morning, and you could see glow from the Kilauea current eruption. You could also look uprift to the slope of Mauna Loa. And Ken, I believe what we were seeing from the park this morning was that fissure number 4. You can see this photo was taken with an old camera this morning. So here to my, I think that's my right, that's the Kilauea lava lake glowing, and that is the Mauna Loa, I believe, fissure number 4. We could see that vigorously this morning. We had a spotting scope up there too, and it looked pretty magnificent. So the park is open. I know there's a lot of safety orders and emergency orders about Daniel K. Highway, etc., but your national park is open. It's open 24 hours. We have been having very vigorous visitation numbers. So we encourage people who are wanting to come to the park, because it's open 24 hours and the viewing is so good before sunrise and then after dark, that you try to time your visit before 9 a.m. or after 9 p.m. To avoid the crowds and crowded parking lots. The only thing that's really closed in the park related to this eruption right now is Mauna Loa Road. That's known locally sometimes as Strip Road, and that basically is just going to keep people safe and off of those high elevation areas where we have the eruption happening right now. In fact, some of those areas have been closed since October, when Mauna Loa started to get feisty again. As a result, we did not have to enact any search and rescues once the eruption began, so that was great forward thinking from our emergency responders here. So that's 2 things I covered. Let's see. I also wanted just to add, this is a wonderful eruption. This is a rare time where we have 2 eruptions happening simultaneously. This is more than a spectacle to the people of Hawaii and to many others. This is a very sacred event that we are watching. We are watching Pele come to life to do a dual eruption. So this, just keep in mind, for many people coming here to pay their respects, this is quite a sacred event, and we are happy to interpret it that way. The last thing I wanted to add, if there are media who are interested in park news releases and you're not on my distribution list already, I will drop my email address in the chat, and I am happy to add you. And that's really all I have. Thank you.
Hi, this is Jennifer Kelleher from the Associated Press. I was hoping you, Mayor Roth, could elaborate a little bit on the shelter situation. At what point does he expect the shelters to close, and what did they look like overnight? How many folks stayed there overnight?
Hi, Jennifer. Yeah, so last night, I think that we had very few people. I don't think we had 0, I think, in Bahala. I think we may have had 4 or 5 people inside the shelter at Kona. I'll have to get more updated numbers on that, but clearly the danger for the Ka'u area and Kona area is gone, so there's really no need to have the shelter up there any longer.
Thank you very much. Tasha, or actually, I'll go Jonathan, you got your camera on.
Sure, I'll answer those 2 things. I can't really speak for NOAA totally, but it's a NOAA part of their global monitoring laboratory system. They have 4 labs around the world, and they monitor the atmospheric conditions. And so this is also the place where the global CO2 record comes from, which is kind of odd because we're emitting a lot of CO2 into their observatory right now. But so it plays a very important role in our understanding of the atmosphere. And they have a lot of very advanced laboratory equipment and equipment for measuring a lot of different things about the atmospheric change. Aside from that, I can't really, you'd need to talk to NOAA to get specifics about what they're doing and what the impact is. The loss of power has got to be impacting their operation, but I don't know exactly how that impact is playing out right now. And as far as impacting Hilo, what I can say is it's just very early in this eruption right now. The lava flow hasn't even made it down in the saddle, where typically these lava flows slow down greatly as they progress across there. And as I've said before, the average length of one of these fissure eruptions is approximately 2 weeks or so, or thereabouts. And so if it's that kind of level, and it just depends on, we have not been able to get a really good effusion rate yet. We're hoping to do that today. We just don't know what the advance rates of this lava flow are going to be over that flat ground. We're going to be starting modeling fairly soon, but for putting those models out a couple weeks in advance usually just ends up to a lot of confusion in the community. And so until we know for sure that the lava flow is going to impact the community, you know, we'll just treat it as something that is, you know, staying up in the saddle area for the time being. And we'll just watch it very, very carefully. We're thinking very, very much about, you know, advances and what would have to happen if it did approach that community. But again, the probability is low for historic eruptions. Only 2 have made it, and one of them was very different. It was a long-term eruption. It took a year for it to make it down into the outskirts. And, you know, so even so, these lava flows are like ribbons. So, you know, even if it impacted the community, in general, the community impact would be concentrated in specific areas.
And Jonathan, the road that you're asking about, very little impact, if any, especially where the lava has crossed the road. Very few people go up there.
So really the next thing that we worry about is the impact of if the lava were to cross the saddle road, but there's no certainty to that even at this point, and that's probably days away. So we just have to watch, right? We can't really predict what Mother Nature or Pele is going to do here. We can only monitor it and get the information to people so that everybody knows what's going on and can make appropriate decisions.
You were just listening to emergency officials and the USGS, as well as the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory, updating their communities about what the impact of this volcanic eruption may have on the surrounding communities. All right, now we are going to go back to our station Hawaii News Now, as they are covering every angle of this eruption. And they're talking about how Native Hawaiians see special significance in this volcanic eruption. They'll tell you why.
And as our Chelsea Davis reports, Native Hawaiians say this is a sign of an awakening.
For many Native Hawaiians, views like these are humbling and energizing.
The United States gets their Independence Day and do fireworks. We get our akua, we get Pele, right? So like, what a way to celebrate.
To have it fall right on Laku Oko'a, to me, this is the awakening, the surging, the rising of this awareness of this beautiful holiday.
Laku Oko'a is also known as Hawaiian Independence Day. It's the day England and France formally recognized the Hawaiian Kingdom as an independent nation state.
This was a mission achieved by Kamehameha Ekolu, Kauikeauli, who sent his closest friend, Timoteo Ha'alileo and William Richards, to go all the way across from the United States to Great Britain and to France to secure recognition of Hawaii.
They were successful on November 28th, 1843. Today, the holiday is celebrated across the Pai'aina.
Making sure that everyone in Hawaii knows these dates, know these historical facts is really important, and getting it normalized.
Many will tell you Mauna Loa erupting just before midnight is no coincidence.
Last night when it erupted at 11:30, it's Laku Oko'a in England at the same time, you know, if you think about it. So it's happening.
On top of just making sure that everyone's health and everyone is safe, there's an overwhelming feeling of mana, of power, of strength flowing around the island. You feel it and feed it off of everybody.
As Hawaiians celebrate this holiday, they ask that everyone stay safe and remain respectful by not getting too close. Chelsea Davis, Hawaii News Now.
We thank Chelsea Davis for that report about the significance of the volcanic eruption on Hawaii's Independence Day. Again, we are talking about the Mauna Loa eruption, and the eruption began late Sunday night. That happened after a series of fairly large earthquakes. That's according to a scientist in charge over at the Hawaiian Volcanic Observatory. Again, we are sharing with you stories from our station Hawaii News Now as they cover every angle of this eruption. And next up, we're going to be talking about tourism. The Mauna Loa eruption is expected to trigger winter tourism, and it's going to be a boost for the Hawaiian Islands. Let's go ahead and bring you that part of this story.
Joining us live with more on that is Jessica Farrakane, Public Affairs Specialist with the park.
Thanks for joining us, Jessica. Now, what's traffic been like up there over the past, 15 hours now?
It has been definitely a very busy day here at Kilauea Visitor Center in Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. Our parking lot was almost full earlier, and we had to do some traffic control out there. That's pretty normal for this time of the year, but now that we have these two epic eruptions happening simultaneously, we expect it's going to grow even busier in the park.
Jessica, this is just remarkable. Now, how much of Mauna Loa can you see from the park, and what are the best vantage points?
You can see Kilauea level, that is park boundary. The places to try to see if there's going to be a glow tonight, we don't know if that's going to happen again, especially since it looks like the summit caldera, there's maybe a little bit of lava, but a lot of that has gone out and migrated into Northeast Rift outside of the national park. But there could be some glow. The normal places along Kilauea caldera could provide some good glow opportunities this evening. Places like Kilauea Overlook, where you have a big expansive view looking up Mauka, Kupinai Pali, etc. We did have some rainy, foggy weather earlier, but I'm looking outside my window here at the visitor center, and it looks pretty blue coming up the mountain.
Yeah, any road closures people need to know about in the area, Jessica?
Yeah, the big road closure that we have right now is Mauna Loa Road itself. The summit and the high elevation cabins, et cetera, have been closed since October for safety reasons. We did close the road today from the Kipukapua'ulu area, so visitors cannot drive up to the Mauna Loa lookout at this time.
And also, too, dovetailing off of that, Jessica, what is your message to those thinking about planning a trip to the park? Because, I mean, this is something that is very exciting, but it is also something where safety needs to be a precaution. What is your message in that regard?
Yeah, if you're planning to visit Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, just plan ahead and have some flexibility. This is a very fluid, very quickly changing situation with Mauna Loa. The park is very busy right now, so we're kind of urging visitors to try and come before 9 in the morning or after. Park is open 24 hours a day. And as always, check the park website before you get here. That's where we're going to put any kind of closure alert, the latest images, et cetera, that we have available to share.
All right, Jessica Farrakane joining us from Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. Always a pleasure speaking with you, Jessica.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to turn our attention now to a story, the story of two different volcanoes. Let's go ahead and talk about it while looking at some stunning aerial footage from the Paradise helicopters. Let's go ahead and press play on this now for you. So again, Mauna Loa and Kilauea are very different, and so are their eruptions. In 2018, the eruption of Kilauea sent residents in Lower Puna scrambling for safety as fissures opened up in normally quiet subdivisions. And of course, Sunday's eruption of Mauna Loa, less alarming because of several reasons, but mostly for the projected path of the flows. So far, USGS officials said the lava is flowing in the northeast rift zone and is not posing any immediate threat to communities. All right, for many reporters, this is an adventure of a lifetime to cover this volcano, especially since its last eruption was nearly 40 years ago in 1984. We're going to take you to one of Hawaii News Now's reporter who says it's an honor to be able to cover this eruption, particularly because it is not serving as an imminent threat to the nearby communities, at least at this time. Let's go ahead and take you to his reporting.
of Mauna Loa. And actually, I'm going to stand camera for just a moment because I want to step off for our folks watching on Facebook and show you this incredible sight. But I want to make sure that we get a few more people jumping in on the Facebook Live here. I'm going to do this a little bit more casually than we do on TV. But we're going to talk through what we're seeing here and the latest information from USGS Hawaiian Volcanoes Observatory. So with that, I am going to step off. I'm going to try and also hop on Facebook and monitor some of the comments because I think that's kind of a fun part of doing these. If you'd like to chime in and let us know what you're thinking there, I just got the notification. I'm sure, let's see here. We've got some folks joining. Of course, I got to mute myself. But I do want to step out and show you this incredible sight. And it's important that we're showing it to you right now because a little later this morning, you're likely going to see a much different scene as the sun continues to come up. I'm trying to make sure that we've got the live stream working here. I think we do. Yep, there we go. I see it. Okay, so feel free to comment, folks, as we're talking through this. I'd love to interact with you here on Facebook Live if you have any questions or comments. So, again, what we're looking at here, of course, is the historic Mauna Loa eruption that started on Sunday night, right? 11:30 Sunday night. Monday morning, they put our crews on a plane, and we were over here to see this really, really amazing, spectacular event. And I'm so grateful to be here sharing this with you. And I'm even more grateful that we can report, again, that many of those communities that were really worried, really concerned, especially when we were at some of those informational meetings. You may remember back in September, October, those last couple of months, we started to hear and report that increased seismic activity, heightened unrest, they were calling it. We were following that very closely. We came again over to Ocean View where they had a community meeting, Pahala. Now, if you're familiar with Hawaii Island, those communities are on the other side of Mauna Loa. What you're seeing here, again, is the northeast side, the northeast rift zone. And that is really good news that that is where this lava is flowing, because also, if you're familiar with Hawaii Island, you know that there aren't really many communities. There's not a whole lot to be concerned with on this side of the mountain. If this had gone to the southwest rift zone, and again, I apologize for making that mistake early on. If it had gone to the southwest, then we may have seen some real concerns, some people that would have been really worried about, especially Highway 11. That was that main access road for places like Pahala, Ocean View, many of those communities. That would have really caused some problems. That were a lot of the concerns that people were sharing at some of those informational meetings. But I just want to take a moment with you as we, I almost don't want the sun to come up. I usually love watching the sunrise, especially on Hawaii Island, but it's going to change the visuals for us for sure. So I'm glad our Facebook friends are joining us. So, taking a look again, you can see where it's kind of splitting off. And what we've heard from USGS HVO scientists is that this is sort of appearing like, at least now, it's kind of following the historic path of the 1984 flow. That was the lava flow almost 4 decades ago, and then the prior lava flow again in 1974. And I want to share something, actually, as we're looking at this, and our photographer, Daryl Lee, is doing such a great job showing you some of these visuals. You can see those rivers of lava where they're splitting off, and then as we go up, eventually you'll see what I believe are those fissures that we've been seeing. And again, I'm sure many of you, if you follow us on Facebook, have been able to see those amazing images from different flights. So I just had Laurice Mackey ask, are they accepting flights? They shut down yesterday because of ash. Yes. Now, I don't want to speak too much on this because things could change, right, with the VOG and Pele's hair and some of those concerns. But it was Southwest, or the Southwest, that had some flights canceled to Hilo. As a matter of fact, I was flying over here, Maurice, and I was trying to get on the Hilo flight. They delayed it, and I was hearing about those cancellations, like, oh, they're going to cancel it. So I decided to fly into Kona, and then, of course, right when I switched my ticket, they said Hilo was boarding. So I made a mistake, but I was grateful to come over here. So as far as I know, I don't know of any flight cancellations right now, but I'll check for you, and I'll try and make sure that we report on that. then you know what is also really beautiful about this, my photographer again who is showing you this, Daryl, he said it, he's like, it's like the Super Bowl and everybody on island has cable. I was staying with some dear friends, Ikaika Marzo. He was he lives in Pahoa, and driving in from Pahoa, you were able to see that glow from there. You were able to see some of that. So really all around Mauna Loa, you're getting to witness some really spectacular visuals. But yes, when you come over this way, again, we're at Mauna Kea recreation area, this little recreation area with some restrooms and a kind of a rest area here, and you're able to see something pretty spectacular. Lacey Denise has been kind of focusing on road closures this morning, but as far as we know, Mauna Loa access road closed. And then again, I don't want to misspeak, but there is one, I believe it's Mauna Loa Summit Road on Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, that has been affected a little bit, but the park is still open. The park is still something to see. You can see the ongoing Kilauea eruption as well at the Halima'uma'u crater. But this is really something to behold. I talked to a lot of locals and visitors alike, and they shared with me that they're so intrigued by this. It's something that they never thought maybe they would witness in their lifetime. As a matter of fact, one woman, actually one family that I talked to, said that she and her husband were here for the 1984 flow. Their daughters have lived there their whole lives. They were raised here, but they have not witnessed something like this historic event. So really spectacular thing to see. What we're going to expect later this morning is a update from USGS Hawaiian Volcanoes Observatory. We're also going to hear from the Hawaii County Civil Defense Agency. We expect to hear probably from Mayor Mitch Roth. I don't want to quote myself I don't know exactly who's all involved in that press conference, but that's going to be at 9. So if you're a Hawaii News Now viewer, please join us. We're going to actually have a special edition of Sunrise later this morning, and we'll
All right, you were just listening to the very latest from a reporter who is able to cover the Mauna Loa eruption. And every time he comes on camera, he just always talks about what an honor it is to cover this breaking news. All right, we are going to now take you to we're going to show you a little bit of some glimpses of their newscast throughout the morning today and yesterday, where they're covering, again, every single angle of this volcanic eruption. So let's bring you to one of their newscasts that happened this morning and see what updates they have for us.
Not posing an imminent threat to downslope communities. All schools on Hawaii Island remain open. However, DOE officials are monitoring the situation. Only one of the 3 fissures at Mauna Loa is active right now. Here's what Hawaii Island Mayor Mitch Roth and Hawaiian Volcano Observatory's top scientist Ken Hahn had to say about the current status of the eruption.
Right now, it seems like the lava is going to a positive place. As far as keeping away from the public and everything like that, away from property. We have, like I said, set up our civil defense. We feel very confident and ready for the situation.
As far as we know, in any historic precedents, that there has never been a eruption of Mauna Loa that activated both rift zones at the same time or during the same eruption. So we presume at this point that all of the future activity is going to be on the northeast rift zone of Mauna Loa and not on the southwest rift zone. So those residents in that area do not have to worry about lava flows.
Authorities predict this eruption could last 2 weeks, but they stress that things can change. Stay tuned to Sunrise this morning as our Casey Lutton, he's going to be live on Hawaii Island with the very latest on Mauna Loa. Meanwhile, the state health department is now warning residents about the potential for poor air quality. Forecasters say that emissions could travel across the islands depending on wind conditions. As our Jorlani Martinez reports, some people are already smelling it.
Even though there's a lot of fog entering the atmosphere, the forecast doesn't really indicate that we're going to see a lot of it at ground level over the next few days. The winds are from the south, however, loft, and so the fog is moving northward.
According to the latest forecasts, Maui County is next in line to get the fog. It's troublesome for those with asthma and breathing issues.
It's very dangerous to be in that environment, and that's why we would like people to stay away.
Governor-elect Josh Green studied the long-term health effects of the volcanic eruption when he was a physician in Ka'u.
We found that it exactly doubled the effects of lung disease. People got, very congested and had trouble breathing. Asthmatics had a lot more trouble.
Another danger in the air, Pele's hair or volcanic glass, and ash was spotted falling from the sky in Waikiki.
They can break apart and they can impact your skin, they can impact your eyes, you can breathe it through your nose and in your mouth. The particles are actually too large to get in directly deep into the lungs, but they can certainly cause a lot of irritation.
Straub allergist Dr. Jeffrey Kam says those with breathing difficulties should stay indoors with air condition or an air purifier and wear a mask.
The N95s are best. They do not get rid of the chemicals, unfortunately, though, so it does help with the particulate dust and particles, even Pele's hair.
Dozens of people drove out to Mauna Loa State Recreation Area to check out the lava.
We ask the children to wear their mask and ourselves too, just to be safe.
Because the air smells like rotten eggs. Yeah, I feel safer with the mask because it smells kind of bad, but with the mask, it helps a little.
Common symptoms to look out for when exposed to VOG include headaches, watery eyes, sore throat, flu-like symptoms, and lack of energy.
That was our Jelani Martinez reporting. VOG and air quality updates are available through the DOH Clean Air Branch and the Hawaii Interagency VOG Information Dashboard. If you want those links, you can go to our website. The DLNR has closed the Mauna Loa Forest Reserve and the Kipuka Anaho Nene Sanctuary because of the eruption. That closure will remain in place for at least 90 days. The Aina Po Trail and Cabin and the Kapapala Forest Reserve will also be closed. Officials have set up a roadblock at the intersection of Saddle Road and the Mauna Loa Observatory Access Road. We have a special section on our website with all the late-breaking updates on the Mauna Loa eruption. Just scan the QR code on your screen and you'll be taken to it directly. The wrap-up report on October tourism shows another billion-dollar month. Howard.
All right, again, we are showing you the storytelling that our station in Hawaii are featuring, and we're perusing, taking you on a tour through a lot of their newscasts as waves of orange, glowing lava, and ash are blasting and billowing from the world's largest active volcano in its first eruption in 38 years. Welcome back to Local News Live. If you're just now joining us, I'm Victoria Shirley, and again, we are showing you the excellent reporting of our station in Hawaii, Hawaii News Now, as the Mauna Loa volcano is erupting for the first time since 1984. Now, we do know at this time this volcano eruption is not impacting surrounding communities, but of course, emergency officials are telling people who live in the area to stay vigilant. We're going to bring you some more recaps of the coverage of our excellent journalists in Hawaii at our station Hawaii News Now. Let's go ahead and bring you the very latest from their reporting.
Gone one of two ways, to the north or to the south.
Yeah, and so far it is flowing up to the north, and that is a huge relief. So take a look at this video taken yesterday from a helicopter. You can see massive fountains of red hot lava bursting out of the ground, shooting up to 200 feet into the air. But look at the landscape. It's essentially deserted in this part with no homes or properties in the vicinity. Right now, the lava is flowing along the northeast rift zone. If the lava had gone in the other direction, along the southwest rift zone, that could have devastated residential towns and neighborhoods. While there is no danger as of right now, officials are telling the island's 200,000 people to remain on alert.
Guy's been tracking that VOG for us. The state health department is warning residents about the potential for poor air quality. This VOG map shows movement from Hawaii Island. In the Waikiki area of the Big Island, residents took photos of Pele's hair or volcanic glass, as well as ash that had fallen. Health experts say those with breathing difficulties should stay indoors with air conditioning or with an air purifier, and they should also wear a mask.
The N95s are best. They do not get rid of the chemicals, unfortunately, though, so it does help with the particulate dust and particles, even Pele's hair.
A lot of people drove out to the Mauna Loa reservation area to check out the lava yesterday. Some chose to protect themselves with masks there.
Yeah, I feel safer with the mask because it smells kind of bad, but with the mask, it helps a little.
And we ask the children to wear their mask and ourselves too, just to be safe.
Fog and air quality updates are available through the DOH Clean Air branch and the Hawaii Interagency Fog Information Dashboard. For links to them, you can go to our website.
There are no mandatory evacuations, but Hawaii County has opened 2 emergency shelters, one at the Robert Herkes Gymnasium in Pahala, the other at the Kukuaokalani Gym in Kailua Park. Now, we're told about 100 people have voluntarily left their homes and are staying at the Kona shelter. The Hawaii Emergency Management Agency has also activated its Emergency Operations Center. The Hawaii National Guard is also on standby if needed. Meanwhile, the Department of Education says all schools in Hawaii County will be open today. Now, scientists say Mauna Loa's eruptions have been legendary, along with heroic efforts to deal with them.
Our Daryl Huff explains why this volcano has had a reputation for grave danger.
The January 1984 eruption of Mauna Loa happened simultaneously with dramatic fountains at nearby Kilauea. Alicia Dow was a young reporter for KGMB.
Initially, it was wonderful. You know, it was exciting. The 2 volcanoes were erupting, and I've never seen anything like it in my life.
But within days, it became clear the flow was slowly, steadily heading towards Hilo. The civil defense director faced a terrified community.
I knew, and still today it's the same, when Mauna Loa erupts, it will create this like the word tsunami because we have a history of death. When Mauna Loa erupts, it will create a different fear from Kilauea.
And in the gym, you could see the panic on people's faces because there's nothing you can do if the lava flow is coming.
That flow stopped 4.5 miles from Hilo, far from the first time the town was spared.
The city of Hilo and its water supply are in danger. So bombs crash into the lava stream.
In 1935, General George Patton sent bombers, which had little effect. The flow stopped on its own. In 1881, as a slow-moving flow again approached the town, Princess Ruth Ke'elikolani left Oahu answering the call for help.
To sail across and hike up to the flow front and beseech Pele to stop erupting.
Mauna Loa has erupted 34 times since they started counting in 1843, usually with lots of fast-flowing lava that could reach the ocean to the west in hours. Geology professor Scott Rowland says Mauna Loa eruptions are rarer now, but still inspire awe and fear.
If we were talking 100 years ago, then we would say, oh yeah, Mauna Loa is erupting again, no big deal, it last erupted, I don't know, 7-8 years ago, and it would not be such a surprise.
And there would have been a lot fewer people downslope than there are today.
All right, speaking of Casey Lund, he has been reporting extensively for Mauna Loa. Let's get you to one of his live reports.
That is some spectacular footage that you are showing to us, Casey, behind you.
Yeah. Really, really spectacular, and you can't wipe the smile off my face this morning. And I'm smiling, though, because we know that many of those communities that were concerned about this eruption are in the clear, and that is excellent news to report. I'm going to stay on camera long enough for them to just put my name under me, and then I'm going to step out. I want you guys to see this, and I want to share this with you while we still have this opportunity, because, of course, we know as the sun rises in the east, this is going to change quite a bit. It won't be as dramatic. We came around, and that's what's so beautiful about this eruption on the southwest flanks, or excuse me, northeast flanks. I'll make it that very important correction, the northeast flanks of Mauna Loa, that everybody is going to get a different view of this. We're right now at Mauna Kea Recreation Area. We came by the other road passing where Lacey was talking about, excuse me, Mauna Kea Access Road, and we know Mauna Loa Access Road is closed, but there is a big crowd up there, and that's one thing that I wanted to mention really quickly, is that there are a lot of folks stopping, pulling over, getting on the roof of their cars, trying to get the best look, trying to take the best picture, and of course you might imagine people driving by trying to get a glimpse of this, so be careful if you come out here and try to see this. Now I want to talk about the eruption a little bit. Of course, we know this all started the night before last, 11:30 p.m. That's when we all heard the historic historic news. And there was some concern that it was going to go to the southwest rift zone, and that would have been trouble for some of those communities on the southern flanks of Mauna Loa. We talked about Pahala. You just mentioned the earthquakes that were there overnight, and we had reported on those deep earthquakes earlier. Those, again, not believed to be related to this eruption event. But had that flow gone over that side of Mauna Loa, there would have been some real concern, especially for those communities that rely on Highway 11. If that lava had split off like you're seeing it right now, you can see as it splits in different directions, it could really knock out a portion of that road on the other side of the Mauna. Now, I want to play out some sound. We were here in Hilo Town talking to folks. I talked to one woman who grew up here on the Big Island. Now she lives on the mainland, but boy, she was really happy to be home during this historic event.
Daughter in Washington texted us saying the volcano is erupting, and it was 5 in the morning, and we woke up, and from my sister's bedroom we opened the blinds and we could see it from there. Yeah, so we have photos.
What was that like?
It was brought back memories, because growing up here, when they used to erupt, we used to head up to the volcano and go and watch it. So it brought back fun memories from growing up on the island. It makes me feel like I'm home again, you know, because this is where we were raised, and we grew up with the legend of Pele. We believe in her, you know, dearly, and so seeing her magnificent volcano erupt, it just brings, you know, home. It's home.
And a big mahalo to Claudia, my new friend that I met in Hilo Town. It was awesome hearing her share that story. And, you know, just as we were out here this morning gathering some video, I was able to talk to a family. You'll hear from them later on Sunrise. They've lived on Hawaii Island their whole lives. The mom and dad, guys, got to witness the 1984 eruption. Of course, the eruption previous to that was 74, as we've been reporting. But their daughters, they get to witness this historic event. So for them to be able to share this with them, very special. And again, prefacing this again with the fact that those communities are not in danger right now. At least that's the latest information from USGS. As I'm sure you've been reporting, we're going to hear from officials later this morning. We'll have a special edition of Sunrise. But guys, I'll step out one more time if we can go a little wide and show you this. When we check back in at 6:30, of course, there will be a little bit more light, but certainly still very spectacular to behold. We'll send it back to you in Honolulu.
That's unbelievable stuff.
Yeah, really cool. All right, thanks, Casey. All right, check this out. Amid all the heat from the Mauna Loa eruption, there was actually a snowstorm on Mauna Kea, a lifelong song of fire and ice on the Big Island. This footage is from the Canada-France telescope, which saw whiteout conditions that began blocking the webcam.
The DLNR has closed the Mauna Loa Forest Reserve and the Kipuka Ainaho Nene Sanctuary because of the eruption. The closure will remain in place for at least 90 days. The Ainapo Trail and Cabin and the Kapapala Forest Reserve will also be closed. Officials have set up a roadblock at the intersection of Saddle Road and the Mauna Loa Observatory Access Road.
All right, so scan the QR code on your screen right now to send us your photos and videos of the lava flow. And stay with Hawaii News Now for the very latest on Mauna Loa's eruption.
All right, speaking of scanning that QR code, of course, many of us not lucky enough to be near Mauna Loa's eruption. Lucky enough, as I'm saying, as there's no imminent threat in that community, but you can go to Hawaii News Now and take a look at some of those viewers submitted photos. So go to hawaiinewsnow.com to take a look at that. Again, we're talking about Casey Lund doing excellent reporting out there. Several journalists in that area reporting from that eruption, that historic eruption. But we wanted to bring you another one of his stories because it is so wonderful to hear the perspectives of the people from Hawaii that have been living on that island for some time now and have wonderful memories of this eruption as it last erupted in 1984 and before that in the 70s. So let's bring you another report of his as he spoke to people who live in that area.
Aloha from Hilo Bay. We were in Kona earlier today, made our way over here, saw a lot of people taking a moment to try and see what they could. We'll hear from them coming up a little later this evening. We also heard from officials, and the good news that, again, that lava appears to be contained to the northeast rift zone, and that many of the communities on the southern slopes, the southeast rift zone, or southwest rift zone, I should say, are not in danger. In fact, no communities communities are in danger, as we've been reporting. Earlier this afternoon, we heard from the governor. We also heard from Ken Hahn from USGS Hawaiian Volcanoes Observatory, as well as Civil Defense, Hawaii County Mayor Mitch Roth, about the situation. Good news, again, from those officials earlier this afternoon.
Right now, it seems like the lava is going to a positive place as far as keeping away from the public and everything like that, away from property. We have, like I said, set up our civil defense. We feel very confident and ready for the situation.
As far as we know, in any historic precedents, that there has never been a eruption of Mauna Loa that activated both rift zones at the same time or during the same eruption. So we presume at this point that all of the future activity is going to be on the northeast rift zone of Mauna Loa and not on the southwest rift zone. So those residents in that area do not have to worry about lava flows.
We also made our way over here to Hilo Town, and we talked to a number of residents and visitors who say they're very excited to be a part of this historic event, or at least be a witness to it. I talked to one woman who is originally from the Big Island. She lives in Seattle now and has for 40 years. She says she's extremely grateful that she's visiting back home during this historic event.
My daughter in Washington texted us saying the volcano is erupting, and it was 5 in the morning. And we woke up, and from my sister's bedroom, we opened the blinds, and we could see it from there. Yeah, so we have photos.
What was that like?
It was brought back memories, because growing up here, when they used to erupt, we used to head up to the volcano and go and watch it. So it brought back fun memories from growing up on the island. It makes me feel like I'm home again, you know, because this is where we were raised, and we grew up with the legend of Pele. We believe in her, you know, dearly, and so seeing her magnificent volcano erupt, it just brings, you know, home. It's home.
Of course, many people that I talked to as well have been seeing some of those amazing pictures, some of those amazing videos that are coming into our newsroom. Again, many of those from you, our viewers, and we appreciate those. You keep them coming, and you can view all of those online at hawaiinewsnow.com. We'll be up bright and early on sunrise. We'll check back in then. For now, we'll send things back to you in studio.
Okay, we of course appreciate Casey Lund's reporting there from the volcano. We have some new video to share with you, courtesy of our station Hawaii News Now. They dedicated an entire hour of one of their newscasts to the latest updates about this historic eruption. Again, it is erupting for the first time in nearly 40 years. The last eruption happened in 1984. So let's take you now to their special edition of the Sunrise Hawaii News Now as they share with us some new video of this volcano.
Breaking news coverage of the Mauna Loa eruption.
Yeah, we just got some stunning new looks of the ongoing lava flow. This is thanks to Paradise Helicopters for the bird's eye view above Mauna Loa. These videos were taken from a flight just minutes ago. This is what's happening this morning with a closer look. You see the lava bursting forth from the ground along a fissure in the northeast rift zone. About 15 minutes ago, Governor Ige told us that a new fissure had opened up overnight. He got the news in the 11 p.m. briefing, so we're not sure which fissure this is, but you can see just how active it continues to be this morning.
All right, we're going to have much more, including we have a press conference coming up at 9 o'clock this morning. In the meantime, somebody else is bursting out there on Hawaii Island. Very excited. Yeah. What's going on?
Yeah, you know, it's nice, guys, to be able to be excited about this and to be able to, you know, celebrate. Maybe that's not the right word, but many people are. This is a very special thing, and they're able to do that without guilt, because we know, as we've been reporting, that those communities, especially like Guy was saying, on the south flanks of Mauna Loa, are not in danger. I'm going to step out of the way, and even though the sun's up now, and we're getting a kind of a different look now that you can't really see those rivers of lava glow like they were, you might be able to make out still that fissure pumping up, and a really, really, really spectacular thing even to see from this far away. Much different, like I've been saying, than the eruption at the Halemaumau crater, the Kilauea volcano, that of course went off in 2018. We saw that lava drain from the lake, and we knew that it was going to end up somewhere. It of course ended up in those neighborhoods like Leilani Estate. So this, like you have heard, is typical and consistent with the last two eruption events, in 84 and 74, I should say. And that is what happens with Mauna Loa. The eruption generally stays in the recorded history that USGS has in the caldera summit, and then it will eventually spill over. And that's what we're seeing happen here. We're just really grateful, like we've been mentioning, that it's spilling over in this northeast rift zone. There was some concern early on, and that was really the issue. When I was flying over here, I flew into Kona, flew to Hilo. There was concern that they weren't sure exactly where things were going to go. Of course, as the day went on, we learned a little bit more. You know, I was talking about the 2018 eruption, and just moments ago, I was out here. I spoke to one gentleman whose family lost his home during that eruption. I asked him what that time was like.
Yeah, it was a rough time. You know, it was as spectacular and as beautiful as you know these eruptions can be. It's very difficult when it's impacts communities and families, and the devastation can be incredible. You know.
What was your reaction when you learned that this was erupting? Mauna Loa was erupting Sunday night.
There was definitely a little bit of nervous energy, of course, with any eruption. I think that's the first reaction. And then realizing, you know, once you start looking at kind of where it's flowing and stuff like that currently, you know, it's, you know, not endangering any communities or anybody's home.
Yeah, and that is really the reaction a lot of folks are having, that they're grateful that this eruption event isn't impacting homes. It's not threatening people's livelihood. So far, though, with any eruption event we know, and we reported on this, there's a level of uncertainty. But I was actually pretty surprised, guys, to learn in our last update that they believe that this may end in the next couple of weeks. But, of course, that can change. We know it can. And so you just heard from the governor that they learned about that new fissure. So it's still a very you know, dynamic situation. We're really following things. And of course, like you said, we're bringing that live press conference coming up at the 9 o'clock hour. We'll have a special edition of Sunrise. Aren't you guys happy to stick around for another hour? I am. When we're reporting on this, I'll stay here all day. Yeah. I usually, you know me, sometimes I like to be off TV or off camera, but I love reporting on this stuff. And I'm so grateful to be able to do it. And again, very humbled, because this is a special and sacred place for so many people. Guys?
Yeah, and important, right? Because we got to keep people informed and make sure they know what's going on. Yeah.
His new name, Casey Permagrin Lund.
Yeah, I'm glad that none of those nicknames came out today. But I knew Steve probably had some in the he probably had some in the chamber ready
we'd
to
respect
fire.
the moment, but
Yes.
Now, Casey, can you smell any of the fog? Because behind you, when we look close, it looks like industrial smokestacks just pumping out that fog, like 3 or 4 of them separate.
You know, Guy, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but it certainly feels like the winds are kind of coming from the east, right? But it almost looks like it's blowing that way, kind of to the east. But at least where I'm standing, it feels like it's going this way. So I haven't really smelt that. And I've been asking people, because I know that's an important question and on a lot of folks' minds, but I've been asking folks in Hilo, have you smelled anything? And I haven't heard from anybody that has, or that's come in contact with Pele's hair, things like that. Not hearing any widespread reports of that. But as you know, Southwest canceled several flights to Hilo, and when I was traveling over here, by the way, I was booked on Hilo. My flight got delayed, and I said, you know what, I'm going to take a chance. I have this feeling I'm going to book my Kona flight. As soon as I book that, boarding the flight to Hilo. But I got to see Lacey's lovely side of the island and commute back all the way over here.
Come on over to the Kona side.
I did. I haven't spent much time, though, like you guys said. Puna, my second home. Oh, but I dream.
Casey, I got to ask you, I know this has only happened not that long ago, a day and a half ago, less than, but are there more people on the roads or in Hilo who are kind of hoping to see this? Did you notice?
Yeah, and I'm really glad that you asked that. Really quickly, I'll tell you kind of what I've been seeing, how people have been reacting to this. But a note, if you're going to come along, especially the Daniel K. Inouye Highway, Saddle Road, be very careful because folks are pulled off to the side. I was coming here in the dark of the night, or the morning, I should say. And first of all, it's hard not to stare out your window and look at this amazing sight, especially when it's dark. But second, people are on the side. They're standing on the roof, so be careful. But no, you know what, guys? Daryl Lee, I mentioned this, Daryl Lee, our photographer, said this. It's like the Super Bowl and everybody on the island has a ticket because you can see different elements of it. You could see the glow in Pahoa last night, and then coming in from Pahoa this morning, I got to see a little bit of the fisher up there. I was like, oh, maybe we should do our live shot over here. I'm so glad that we came around here. Again, we're at Mauna Loa Recreation Area. So special to be over here and get this view and to share with all of you. I'm very grateful, guys.
Awesome. Well done, Casey. Thanks, bud.
All right, 8:09 now, and you can scan the QR code that is currently on your screen to send your...
All right, I wanted to hop on here and remind you of what you're watching. You're watching Local News Live, and we are doing a roundup of the best coverage the Hawaii News Now is doing in terms of the Mauna Loa eruption. And I wanted to show you, they have rounded up kind of the best pictures and images coming from this volcanic eruption. So I wanted to show you that while we kind of talk through some of the facts about this eruption. So let's go ahead and pull this up for you. All right, so right now lava is shooting 100 feet to 200 feet, that's 30 to 60 meters, into the air as Hawaii's Mauna Loa, the world's largest active volcano, erupts for the first time in nearly 40 years. For now, lava is not threatening any homes or communities, and no evacuation orders have issued. Lava could eventually reach neighborhoods, though, as it flows downhill, though. It could take a week or more for more molten rock to reach populated areas. Mauna Loa is spewing sulfur dioxide and other volcanic gases. They form volcanic smog or VOG when they mix with vapor, oxygen, and dust in the sunlight. We were hearing them talk about whether they smell that VOG in the air at all. And we have been talking about kind of the precautions you can take if you live in that area. They're saying that you can put some face masks on that'll at least keep the particulates from going into your lungs. And there's a number of other updates that you can see from our station, Hawaii News Now. And they do have some new video that I wanted to share with you here as they continue their coverage here of this historic eruption. Again, Mauna Loa last erupted in 1984, and its smaller, more active neighbor, Kilau volcano, has been erupting continuously for more than a year since September 2001. And in case you didn't know, Mauna Loa is one of 5 volcanoes that together make up the Big Island of Hawaii, which is the southernmost island in that Hawaiian island formation. It's not the tallest. That title goes to Mauna Kea, but it's the largest, and it makes up about 1/2 of the island's land mass. And it sits immediately north of Kilau volcano, which is well known for a 2018 eruption that destroyed 700 homes and sent rivers of lava spreading across farms and into the ocean. Mauna Loa, again, last erupted 38 years ago. The current eruption is its 34th since written history began in 1843. All right, we hope you enjoy some of this video here on your screen, gathered together from our friends over in Hawaii, Hawaii News Now, KGMB, KHNL. And we are going to continue showing you some of their newscasts. We're kind of gathering bits and pieces from a variety of newscasts that they've been airing and sharing with you their reporting because, of course, they know the stories the very best because they live in those communities. So let's go ahead and bring you back to Hawaii News Now as they continue to report on this historic eruption.
Breaking news from Mauna Loa. Jonathan Jared Sapi joins us from the Hawaii News Now Digital Center. Hey, Jonathan.
Hey, Steve. Here is your first alert to some breaking news. We just got into our newsroom. Take a look at this. Indications of the first infrastructure lost of this new eruption. The USGS sending out this post on social media just a short time ago. It's a view from a webcam with a road overlay on it. You can see that white line there. Take a close look of that, the observatory road. You can see the flow has crossed that road there. This is a private road that leads to NOAA's observatory. We also got some new images in video form from Paradise helicopters. Check this out. I'll freeze it for just a second here. You can see this being confirmed in this video. The lava flow has crossed that private road, observatory road that leads to NOAA's observatory. Here's how the scientists in charge at HVO, Kin Han, described the area.
No real habitation up there. Mauna Loa training area, their facilities are outside of where we consider any initial lava flows to go. And the only real facility up there is the Mauna Loa Weather Observatory, which is not directly threatened, but there's a chance its road could perhaps be cut by these lava flows.
And that is what we have learned has happened. You see that confirmation again here in this brand new video from Paradise helicopters. Also, just into our newsroom, new information from the USGS. We asked them some questions on Twitter. They responded, and they said this: the road is in fact blocked, the observatory road, but radio transmission is still happening from the NOAA facility. That's an indication, of course, that power is still working, or they still have some sort of power up there. They also say Saddle Road remains open and is not blocked. Lava flows are about 6 miles, I'm sorry, from Saddle Road at this point. Wow, dramatic images coming in. We're going to learn a lot more about exactly this coming up in that press conference at the top of the hour. So we'll be asking questions about the impacts to that observatory. I'm sure Guy Hoggy knows this is a very remote area. Not many people use this road. It's really for researchers and scientists that use that NOAA facility.
Yeah, well, Guy Hoggy knows everything, so let's check in with him right now. Thank you, Jonathan.
Go easy. So we've got some cool temperatures, right, because of the overnight light winds allowing the ground to release.
All right, of course, we appreciate that reporting from Jonathan Jared Soppy, a good friend to Local News Live. I wanted to show you some images again of this volcano eruption and share with you some information about this historic volcano eruption. Thousands of people, now that they know there's no threat of imminent danger, they are flocking to see Mauna Loa's fiery show, and of course prompting Hawaii Island officials to tell people to be careful and not park along the highway, as you saw that any change in direction could prove to be dangerous in that area. We've been following reports throughout this entire special edition of Explore the Issue about this volcanic eruption and following along with their reporting there in Hawaii. So we appreciate their hard work. But essentially here, spectators, again, asked to be very careful. And among those who came out to go catch a glimpse of the spectacular view was a family. They gathered at one of the state recreation areas nearby and explained that they saw the 1984 Mauna Loa and followed that eruption. And they said, quote, "It's like the goddess has returned." They're calling it epic. And of course, Jessica Farrakane, she's a spokeswoman for the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. We heard from her several times during the course of this special edition of Explore the Issue. She said there have been large crowds at the park. And again, she's urging people to come and be flexible, be careful and be flexible, because there is a lot of congestion there right now. Some people say they feel like they're watching Pele come to life and calling it a sacred event. And the Hawaii Volcanic Observatory said at least 3 fissures opened up on Monday, shooting lava up to 200 feet in the sky, and a 4th fissure opened early Tuesday. We are going to continue to follow coverage from our station, Hawaii News Now, as they cover every angle of this volcanic eruption. For that part of the story, let's go ahead and get the latest updates from our station, Hawaii News Now.
Safe from the lava at this point. So let's show you new video of the eruption from the air. The Hawaiian Volcano Observatory says at least 3 fissures opened up yesterday, shooting out lava up to 200 feet into the sky. Now, Mauna Loa's summit caldera, where the eruption first began late Sunday night, is quiet this morning. In the early morning hours yesterday, some of that lava spilled out to the southwest, leading to fear and concern in communities like Ocean View. But after a few hours, officials say the lava moved to the northeast rift zone and all activities ceased in the caldera. So what is the northeast rift zone? As the name implies, it refers to the area northeast of the crater, and that's where the lava is flowing down right now. On the opposite side, there's the southwest rift zone. Scientists say historically, Mauna Loa has never erupted from both rift zones at the same time. Now, based on past eruptions, scientists believe this lava flow could last 1 to 2 weeks and remain inside the northeast rift zone away from population centers. But officials are getting prepared just in case things change.
Although the flows currently aren't threatening lives or property, Mauna Loa eruptions can be very dynamic.
Now, the Hawaii National Guard is on standby, but no one has been activated at this time. State leaders are also telling visitors that they don't need to change their plans if they want to visit Hawaii Island. Now, there are no mandatory evacuations, but Hawaii County has opened 2 emergency shelters. One at Robert Herkes Gymnasium in Pahala, the other at Kukua Okalani Gym in Kailua Park. We're told about 100 people have voluntarily left their homes and are staying at that Kona shelter. Meanwhile, the State Health Department is now warning residents about the potential for poor air quality. Forecasters say emissions could travel across the islands depending on wind conditions. And as our Jolani Martinez reports, some people are already smelling it.
Even though there's a lot of fog entering the atmosphere, the forecast doesn't really indicate that we're going to see a lot of it at ground level over the next few days. The winds are from the south, however, aloft, and so the fog is moving northward.
According to the latest forecast, Maui County.
All right, that was the very latest there from one of the reporters from Hawaii News Now. We wanted to share with you some more information here about how long this lava could continue to flow. Scientists believe, based on past eruptions, this lava flow could last 1 to 2 weeks and remain inside the northeast rift zone. Again, we just saw a map courtesy of our station Hawaii News Now, as they shared with us kind of that graphic of where everything is located. Officials, though, they say they are getting prepared in case things change and are asking the residents in the area to stay very, very vigilant. All right, we did want to share with you here the governor of Hawaii. He spoke with our station, Hawaii News Now, about the Mauna Loa eruption. So we wanted to share that part of the story with you here on Local News Live. And just in case you're just now joining us, we are doing a special edition of Explore the Issue. I'm Victoria Shirley. We are exploring all of the stories and the coverage that our station, Hawaii News Now, has been doing in terms of this historic eruption of the Mauna Loa volcano. Let's get you to this coverage now.
The eruption of Mauna Loa.
Yeah, we want to just find out what the latest is, because I know you're in touch with all the officials who are in the know.
Yeah, absolutely. We did get a report late last night, 11 p.m., that a new fissure opened up, but it's all happening in the right area. It's in that saddle area where the flows move a lot slower, and certainly we are on top of it. I did sign an emergency proclamation late yesterday afternoon. It's the 42nd during my time as governor. We want to be prepared. We're preparing to access, if we need to, National Guard. We also are looking at increasing the air monitoring for the Department of Health. You know, they have 10 monitors all around the Big Island. We're looking at what sites we need to establish, mobile sites, so that we can keep on top of the air quality.
Yeah, I know it's a different circumstance, Governor, but 2018, people lost homes. Hundreds of homes were lost. People complained at the time, lack of communication, lack of resources available. What did you learn from that event that prepares you for this one and the response that's coming?
Well, I do know that it is all about communication, and that's one of the reasons I signed the emergency proclamation, so we could get that rolling. You know, we've had conversations with our federal partners just in case a federal emergency declaration is necessary. But you know, we are in constant contact with the Hawaii County Civil Defense and the Mayor's Office. We want to make sure that we are in communication so that we can be giving the same information out to the public.
So you've signed the proclamation, you're ready to go. We're hoping this does not threaten any communities on Hawaii Island. Should that change, what is the contingency plan if it starts to head for neighborhoods?
We actually have very extensive plans depending on which way the lava flows. Working with Hawaii County Civil Defense, they have every scenario covered. So, you know, we are prepared just depending on what happens.
I don't know if this is a question more geared toward a scientist, but what are the odds that it does change direction or that another fissure opens up and that heads down the other way?
Well, and that's one of the things I think that we know. Mauna Loa eruptions are very different, and we have to be prepared. And that's why I encourage people to stay connected to Hawaii County Civil Defense. They have boots on the ground, and they are monitoring the lava flow every single day, multiple times a day, to be prepared. And Mauna Loa flows do change directions quickly, and so people should be prepared.
We have less than a week left with you as our governor in office. We have worked with you for the last 8 years, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't ask what you have going on in the next several days and really life after office.
Well, I mean, it's a race to the end to finish up everything, and finally, all the tax returns, the rebates are out. I do know we have a staffer that filed their income tax on the absolute last day, and they actually got their tax rebate. So we were able to complete that. And then it's just the normal kinds of transition things. You know, I'm packing my office. I've been at the state capitol for 37 years. I'm packing my home to move out of Washington Place. I'm renovating our home out in Aiea, and we finally got the last piece. The cabinets are in, so all components are in the state, and we're not subject to supply chain issues, and you know, everything else is just normal.
Yeah, we forget that you're a normal human being sometimes, considering everything you have to deal with. How about this real quick, and maybe just in a broad term, obviously there are a number of issues, of course, Mauna Kea, Aloha Stadium, but how do you transition with Governor-elect Josh Green and moving in to do what you want, but also releasing some of that responsibility to him?
You know, we do have a transition team, and we meet almost every day now, especially as we get closer to the end. You know, they are included in briefings on Mauna Loa, for example, just so that they are prepared and there is a seamless transition, especially during this kind of situation where we have 3 emergency proclamations in force, right? The first to pay SNAP benefits, we know that we want to continue to give the enhanced SNAP benefits. We have the Access Deer Challenge on Maui, and so certainly that's an ongoing emergency. And then this third one is Mauna Loa. And we have been working with their transition team. We have a transition team on our side, making sure that there's a smooth handoff.
Well, we want to say thank you for your service to our state, the people of Hawaii. 37 years, almost as many years as it's been since Mauna Loa erupted.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was just thinking of that because I do remember not being in elective office, but going to see the last eruption because, as you might recall, it was one of the rare times that both volcanoes were erupting at the same time.
Yeah. All right, Governor Ige, thanks. We appreciate it. Good to see you.
Absolutely.
Our station in Hawaii, Hawaii News Now, doing the very best when it comes to the Mauna Loa eruption coverage. And I wanted to show you how you can find all of these videos that I've been sharing with you. You can go to Hawaii News Now and you can see they've got all kinds of coverage that you can check out, and click on each link here and see the video and the article, and you can see their top headlines posted here. And undoubtedly, their reporters are continuing to cover this eruption, and we'll have more coverage throughout the day. All right, again, we thank our station Hawaii News Now for the very latest when it comes to this eruption. Before we sign off, we're going to share with you a few more facts about the Mauna Loa eruption and show you some of this impressive video. Again, this eruption began Sunday night at its summit after a series of large earthquakes. It then spread to vents that formed in a rift zone where the mountain is splitting apart, and it's easier for magma to emerge. Those vents are on the mountain's northeast side, and lava emerging there could head towards Hilo, which is on the east side of the island. And one of the scientists in charge at the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory said he doesn't expect additional vents to form on the volcano's southwest rift zone during this eruption. That means communities to the west would be spared lava flows this time. Mauna Loa also erupted from the northeast in 1984. That time, lava headed towards Hilo, but stopped only a few miles short of the city. Historically, each Mauna Loa eruption has lasted a few weeks, and scientists expect the current eruption to follow this exact same pattern. Again, thank you so much for joining us here on Local News Live as we highlight the excellent coverage by our station in Hawaii, Hawaii News Now, as their reporters and journalists are working around the clock to cover every angle of this story. I'm Victoria Shirley. Thank you for sticking with us again. You are watching Local News Live.